All right, y'all. Here we go. One.
Not that good.
Hi! Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this very special sneak preview of Racing Extinction. Hollywood Health and Society is proud to present this film in collaboration with Vulcan Productions, Discovery Channel, and the PGA Green Committee. Special thanks to Psihoyos and his team for sharing this film with us tonight, to Ben and Jerry's for the yummy sorbets, and to Roberta Kruger and the rest of the hardworking staff at Hollywood Health and Society, without whom tonight would not be possible. So let's give everybody a So I have to do a quick commercial. For 15 years, Hollywood Health and Society has served as a free resource to the entertainment industry on medical, health, and climate change topics. We provide quick facts, research, and access to top experts to help you learn and understand the issues you write about. We have a database with thousands of health and environmental experts from the Centers for Disease Control to NASA JPL, and they're all ready to answer your questions and address your concerns. Hollywood Health and Society is your one-stop shop for information on climate change, environmental, and human health. When we work with you, we keep everything confidential, we take no credit, and the best part is our services are free. Like your mattress. So a couple of little housekeeping details. After the film, we're going to have a short panel discussion with the filmmakers and some other experts. So when the film ends, stick around. You got to sit through the credits because the credits are going to blow your mind. And wait till they're all finished, and then we're going to bring out some director's chairs and our panel to have a discussion, and you'll have a chance to ask some questions of the panel as well. So please hang out for the end of the film and for our exciting panel. And if you have a burning question, either during the film or during the panel, please write it down on a 3x5 card, which you either got as you came in, or we will be passing them around, going up and down the aisles, passing them around. Write your question down on that, and we'll be going up and down the aisles during the panel discussion to collect them and give them to our moderator. Also, inside your program, there's a short survey. We ask you to fill it out before leaving. That's just to give us your feedback on tonight's event, and we'll collect them on the way out. There's also going to be a big basket out there where you can just drop them in, drop your pencils and, you know, your donations. No. And lastly, please note the hashtags and the other handles on the screen. So if you're interested in tweeting or posting, please do so. Post, tweet, shout it to the world around us. But please turn off all your cell phone ringers, buzzers, blinking, flashing lights, rap music, whatever comes out of your phone. Please turn it off so that we can enjoy the film. Okay. Everybody ready? Yeah. All right. So I'm very, very pleased to introduce our host and moderator for this evening. someone who, among many other talents, is a passionate climate change activist and unifier, really. That's the word for you, unifier. She brings together dozens of people and groups to discuss and collaborate on this vital and challenging issue we're all facing today. I've been very lucky to get to know her and her husband over the years, and her energy never ceases to amaze me. So please give a warm, warm welcome to Lynn Davis-Lear.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not supposed to lean on this, so. All right. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. So I'm very fortunate in my life, and one of my fortunate opportunities is to serve on the board of the Sundance Institute. And how many years ago? I don't remember how many years ago. The code was submitted to the Sundance Institute and Festival, and was shown at the Sundance Festival, and I saw, and every year I sort of see a few films I'm blown away by, and I like to share them with friends, and I think many of you were at our home when I showed the code, and we're just blown away by the code. And there were a few people in the audience at our home that were also blown away by the code, and it got picked up and went on to make history at the Academy Awards. And Louis and I go way back, and all of his team. And then shortly after the Academy Awards, we met at the Bel Air Hotel, the Beverly Hills Hotel. And he said, I have to tell you about my new film. And at the time it was sort of the 6th extinction. And I said, what? I didn't know there were 5 extinctions before this coming extinction, which we now know is sort of happening. It's really very scary and frightening for all of us, but we know it's all unfolding. We know also that there's a lot of hope and progress and exciting opportunity out there. And what's exciting is that the awareness possibilities that are happening and going into Paris, which you all know more than I do, this treaty coming up with Copenhagen, so we've got Paris, and with films like Racing Extinction, we have such an opportunity to bring awareness to the world. And this film, which you're going to see tonight, and if you haven't seen it, you're going to be blown away by the visuals and the beauty and the excitement of it all, and the frightening realities that it's going to expose, as only Louis and his amazing team can show you. And one of the exciting parts of it is you're going to see a whole new piece of it that has been shown. They were able to show some of the film on the Empire State Building, which has never been done before in the history of New York or buildings or wherever, and that's going to be a part of the film. So we're in for a real treat. And afterwards, I guess we're going to meet and have a panel of very distinguished people to talk about later. Louis, you're such a mentor and an inspiration to all of us. So I welcome you and welcome all of you, and look forward to talking later. Thank you so much. Kind. This may be for the 5th time seeing this film, and I'm blown away again and again. And the Empire State Building really got to me.
Can I say something?
Please.
Lynn and Norman were instrumental in getting the code distribution and the educational campaign. And about 3 or 4 months ago, I was at their house. They had this, this another environmental summit. And Lynn asked me to talk about the film. I said, well, what I really want to ask is, there's like 50 people in the room. There's like the head of 350.org and Sierra Club and all these organizations. I said, does anybody know Bill de Blasio? Because I've been trying to light up the Empire State Building for the last 4 years now. And Norman goes, I know Bill. The next week he was in New York, and he met with Bill de Blasio, and that's off a chain of events where we actually got that lit up. And this wonderful couple for actually changing my life, hopefully a lot of other people's, but thank you, I really appreciate it.
I was wanted to be here tonight, but our daughters are going off to college. We're going to meet in Vermont, but he sends you all his love. So I just want to introduce our panelists tonight and hold your applause because they're all fantastic. As you know, Louis has won all sorts of awards. I don't need to tell you how many, but he started with National Geographic. I'm not going to, but I think the one thing you don't know is that he had a dinosaur named after him. Did you?
It was very small, but vicious.
It's amazing, really. But wait. And then Gina Fabius is the co-producer of Racing Extinction and has managed a complex operation of all of these operations, and so is also a member of the Oceanic Preservation Society, and is sort of, I don't want to say it, so that M and many of the other, to Louis, what would you say, the James Bond that she would be? I don't want to say the names of some of the people, she's the real operations behind a lot of this, I think. I have a feeling. Gina, welcome. And Dr. Margaret Langman. Langman, she's been to our home. She is the, I shouldn't say new, director of Scripps Oceanic, Scripps Oceanography in San Diego. She's the dean of the School of Marine Sciences, and she's an amazing human being. She has a wealth of knowledge about oceans, earth, and just about every kind of science you can imagine. We should really use our opportunity to have her here in the room tonight. She is this amazing human being that we're just getting to know in Southern California. Welcome, Margaret. And Ted Rashana. I haven't met Ted. I'm dying to meet Ted. He is the impact director for Vulcan Productions and has done so much good in the world for documentaries especially, but so many productions and important things. And welcome, Ted. Thank you so much for being here. So let's start, I guess, maybe with you, Louis. Over the last year, you went from the code to now to endangered species in general. Can you just tell us what, it seems like a natural step, but can you tell us the evolution in your own mind?
Well, it was actually at Sundance with the Cove, the first time we were showing it, and I brought 2 books with me. One by Michael Novacek, who's in the film. He's the head provost for the American Museum of Natural History in New York. He's a good friend. We've been digging dinosaurs in the Gobi, and I brought this book that he wrote called Terra with me. And in this book, he's talking about how we're losing species now faster than mankind's ability to find out that they're even here on the planet with us. And I thought, this is really depressing. So I set that book down and picked up another one by Charles Barone, who's in the film now, but he's the former chief marine scientist for Australia. He's talking about how we're losing, this book was called A Reef in Time, it was about the Great Barrier Reef. And he's talking about how we're losing the Great Barrier Reef now because of acidification that's happened in the previous mass extinctions in the planet. That's what's going on right now. And I thought, you know, this is the biggest story in the world, bar none. How do I make a film about it? And I thought, well, I mean, it sort of evolved. I mean, the week before, well, I guess, you know, the Academy Awards, when we were there, the run-up, that's when we had the whole team in town, and then that became the beginning of the movie, and it just sort of evolved, really. But it was really that reading those two books that got me on this path.
Mm-hmm. And Gina, you and Louis as filmmakers are motivated to make a difference. This film shows innovative solutions by your team and the practice of killing manta razor by shifting an island's economy to tourism. How did you turn the island around and find an economically viable solution? Is this still happening? Is it happening?
That transition is very much in progress right now through the work that Sean and his colleagues helping helping to support that, and also local NGOs on the ground. Really, it's about educating people that mantas are more alive than dead, really, by providing those alternative solutions. Sean has been going back several times since the end of the film. He's actually there right now.
He's there right now.
Yeah. And teaching them alternative livelihoods. So they're, getting the facilities kind of up to shape for Westerners to come and stay there, getting their boats retrofitted so that they can have divers on board, and getting those kind of up to speed to actually handle people coming in. He told a really interesting story actually from the last time that he came back, that he brought a group of fishermen out on the water with him who had never actually spent time under the surface. They're always, hunting from above. And they were diving with a whale shark, which seeing them for the first time and actually photographing them with point and shoot underwater cameras. They had 4 boats, and there was this kind of this 5th boat that was hanging out that wasn't really with their group. And thought, okay, well maybe they're just coming to investigate. And suddenly he hears somebody in his party screaming and turns around, and that 5th boat had come and stuck a harpoon in that whale shark. And they were all really horrified at what they had just seen. And so when they went back to shore, the town leader, the village chief, kind of called a meeting from the entire town and said, we need to talk about what just happened. I think we need to change our ways. And there was a very fiery discussion about it, and they said, fine, we're going to hold it to a vote. And they unanimously voted to stop hunting. It's a really powerful moment.
So great. Thank you. Margaret, when I first went to Scripps before you were even there, I was so fascinated by all the amazing work that Scripps is doing. I was curious as to what are you doing about preserving the genome system of extinction, of species that are becoming extinct? And is there work being done on that now? And how are you dealing with all of this that's happening in the world? And you're the most amazing organization on the planet for this, the endangered species of the ocean. So,
well, there's so many aspects of that. One piece is that, like the wonderful Cornell Bioacoustics Laboratory, we are a repository we have the largest collection of fish specimens in the U.S. We have the largest collection of plankton in the world. And these collections are really important for us because, like you said in the film, they're the baseline. They let us know what we're actually doing. And we've been maintaining those collections for decades. So the first part is, cataloging what we have, understanding what's out there, and being able to talk about what it is. The second piece is the understanding of the genome. So nature uses the genome over and over again. We have lots of genes that actually come from the ocean. It's not for nothing that our blood is salty, because we came from the ocean. And one of the things that we're finding is that certain genes that convey great immunity on us were derived from organisms in the ocean. And the organisms in the ocean evolved that capability to defend themselves. And so understanding that gives us wonderful, wonderful insight into our own health. The third thing is, in the same way that the mantas are such icons for us to look at, and the tourism is so important, we're beginning to find that there are molecules that are in organisms from the ocean that are very potent for us for diseases. So there's a molecule that's made by a fungus in the ocean, which we're finding now is very effective against MRSA.
Yay!
Yes, you especially, because of Norman and his experience with MRSA. If this is, it's in trials now, if this is successful, it'll be the first new antibiotic in 25 years. From a marine fungus. And then the last piece is, I think, that issue of what we do with that with conservation, and our Center for Marine Conservation and Biodiversity tries to take this knowledge and go out and talk to people about it and to put it in action, to take that last step in the way that you are in Indonesia, to convince people that biodiversity and those organisms are worth it. So in the same way that this is happening in Indonesia, we worked in Cabo Polmo in Mexico, where the manta monkey eye, the ones that fly out of the water, are there. They were being endangered by the fishing activities that were going on. And we actually did a study to model what the income of the community would be based on tourism versus what it would be based on fishing. And of course, they're worth much more in the water than they are than the fish being used for food. And so, in exactly the same way, Cabo Polmo voted to stop fishing, and the same families that are fishing now are the strongest advocates. And recently, they were able to stave off a move to essentially destroy the entire Cabo Polmo coast with a very, very intrusive resort. And it's the power of these messages that say these organisms are worth more in the water, whether it's for tourism, whether it's for a new drug, whether it's for our understanding of our own genetic makeup, than they are being fished for the industry. So wonderful, wonderful message. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you. Ted, first of all, I want to thank you and foundations like Vulcan for making films like this possible. Truly, it's because of you guys that we have films like Race and Extinction. And I know there's a release, theatrical release this September. And the film will air December 2nd on Discovery Channel in 240 countries. Virtually every nation around the world at the same time as the UN is meeting in Paris to sign the global agreement that's coming up, as we all know. How did this come about, and what are you hoping to achieve?
Sure, that's a big question. In terms of how it came about, I mean, kudos to Louis and Gina and the team for making such a bold decision to take the film to a place like Discovery. Having worked on a number of documentaries over the years on a number of different issues, and we all know this, the biggest challenge that so many documentary filmmakers and other filmmakers for that matter face is finding an audience. And for a film like this and the messages that are within it, it would have been a real shame had it found a distribution path that would not reach, like you're saying, as many people around the world as possible. And so Discovery, to their credit, are making that happen. Like you said, 220 countries and territories all around the world, not only that many places, but all within one 24-hour window on December 2nd. It's going to be a truly, truly global event, which Discovery is putting a lot behind. It's going to be incredibly exciting. And you mentioned what's going to be happening there in Paris. It's an enormous opportunity. I think what this film does a lot, though, as you all just saw, it's not a climate change film in the traditional sense. It provides a different way in to the climate conversation. It's not about the melting polar ice caps. It's not about, well, you all just watched it, you know what it's not about, you know what it is about. But it opens up conversation and understanding around species. And using that as a way into the climate conversation, we're really hoping will expand the people who actually care about this. The traditional climate folks are thrilled about this movie because they look at this as an additional way to have the conversation. But there's other conversations that are going on out there. Animal lovers, people who got a kick out of seeing these enormous species on top of the Empire State or on the side of the Empire State Building who aren't thinking of themselves as climate warriors. And so it's expanding the conversation there. So in terms of what we hope to accomplish, quite a lot. It's a huge, huge issue. We need people to start by looking in the mirror and thinking about their own behavior, as we saw and as Lou talks about in the film. The things that we do every day are things that we take for granted. Those are hugely impactful things, and the changes that we can make, sure, certainly some of them are huge, but a lot of them are well within reach. And we've launched a really innovative 5-day, what we're calling a carbon cleanse on the site that you can check out and try different ways to try new things, to try not eating meat for a day, to try getting to work a different day, just try these small things and to realize in real time what impact you're having on your own carbon footprint. Additionally, we need to change policy, we need to look at corporate behavior, and the website, just to do my job and give it the plug, raisingextinction.com. On that site, you'll find lots of different things that you can do. In Washington State, where Vulcan Productions is headquartered, we're pushing forward a ballot initiative there that, when it passes this fall and it's on the ballot, will outlaw trade of 10 different products made from 10 different endangered species. And so it's that sort of change that is within reach, and we're really hoping to mirror that activity in states around the country. So there's a lot that can be done, but the one point I'll make is for audiences like this one is look around at what you do. I mean, if you look at what happened here, there's, in the film, there's musicians, there's artists, there's people who brought to bear their skills. And around this room, there are folks here who specialize in filmmaking, who are publicists, who are journalists, who are doing this sort of work. And I think, Louis always says it, is to find out, well, what do you do and what do you do best? And then let's put that sort of work to work. And so I'm here. I'd love to hit your ideas and your volunteer, and let me know afterward what you're up to, and then we can talk about ways that you can contribute to what we're trying to do here.
Thank you.
Great script, such a great script, made it understandable, great.
That's a good opportunity to acknowledge our other people from our filmmaking team who are here. She mentioned a great script, so we have our writer, Monroe, is here.
Stand up.
Rally's here. All right. Well, here, but I don't know if he's still here.
We've also got some questions from the audience too, I think.
Dan Nelson, one of our producers. adjourn?
Good work.
Hey,
Thank you, Paul. Actually, everybody in the audience is but no.
All of you stand up, please. Okay, let me see, there's some questions here. But first, before I open up to the audience, is there a lot of other questions for all of you, but Louis and Gina, are there any other special experiences from the film that you want to share with the audience that were meaningful and really, important for you to share right now?
So many. Well, one of the scenes that ended up on the cutting room floor that I think is really great is one from Sean. If you may not have noticed it in the movie, but he always wears a hook around his neck. And it's actually one that he rescued from a shark. And he, in the scene, he tells us how that hook actually saved his life. He was filming on a beach in some, far-flung destination, and was filming in a place alone, where he probably shouldn't have been. And some shark fishermen kind of got in his face with some machetes and said, what are you doing here? And he reached to the hook and said, oh, Tiburon Pescador, I'm a shark fisherman. And they kind of eased up off of him and said, oh, okay, you're one of us.
Actually, Margaret, a lot of these questions from the audience were what I was going to ask you also in terms of what are the most dangerous practices affecting the oceans? And are there international regulations to govern the oceans?
Well, I think that one of the points that was really clear in the film was that there are so many different things going on. It's not just one. But in no particular order, some of the things that worry us most are ocean acidification, which you heard about, the CO2 in the atmosphere. A quarter of all the CO2 that we put in the atmosphere dissolves in the ocean. And just as your carbonated beverage is acidic because it has CO2 dissolved in it, it's making the oceans more acidic. Not just a little bit, but still that very small amount is more than we've seen in almost 30 million years already. And the CO2 that's in the atmosphere is going to be there for almost 300 years. So even if we never put another molecule of CO2 into the atmosphere, that CO2 is going to keep dissolving in the ocean. It's going to have an impact on the ocean for a long time. So we really worry about that. We don't understand it very well. In fact, we haven't even been able to measure the pH, the amount of the acidity of the ocean very well until just recently. Wendy Schmidt just sponsored an X Prize for the technology to measure the acidity of the ocean. I think the second thing is the incredible removal of fish and primary predators from the ocean. And it's not just that, we've seen that in the time that I've been alive, we've had almost 60% of the commercial fisheries that were active when I was a little girl collapse. My lifetime. And it's not only the removal of cod, haddock, flounder, the things that we like to eat, but it's also the removal of the prime predators like the sharks. And prime predators play a really important role in ecosystems. They're the regulation from the top. And so the removal of all of these prime predators is just an enormous pressure on the ecosystem. A third is the warming of the ocean. So we now know from our measurements over the last 50 years that the upper, essentially, 2,000 years, essentially the upper 6,000 feet of the ocean have already warmed substantially and measurably. and we don't know the effect of that heating on the ocean. Forget the Arctic ice cap. We don't know what that's going to do to ocean ecosystems. So it's these huge unknowns: acidification, warming, the impact of what we're doing with fish and other things on ecosystems that are the scariest thing. And like you were saying, we're extinguishing species before we know they're there. We're doing things to the ocean before we know what the consequence of that will be. So those are the things that keep us up at night.
Do you see any geoengineering possibilities happening then?
I don't think anybody knows what Linda's talking about is purposeful modification of climate by doing something like putting up solar shields or putting things into the atmosphere that would result in cooling of the atmosphere. And there again, we just don't know. What people are most afraid of is that we'll get to the point where we say, oh my gosh, what have we done? And then people will say, let's put one of these techniques into practice. When we haven't done any research, we don't know what the impact of that will be either. So it would be the most intense form of folly to try to do anything like that with the current knowledge that we have.
Right. Okay. Louie and Gina, question from the audience. How did you choose which stories to follow? Was it all done in editing? What was the biggest discovery while making the film? And what are your top basic calls to action, or 3 top basic calls to action?
We follows all the doors.
Well, I mean, in the film we cover, the smallest things, essentially in the water, the plankton up to the blue whale, the largest thing over the planet. We try, it's a film about mass extinction of species. Mass extinction is when you lose half or more of all the species on the planet. We can't do that in a 90-minute film, so we try to, pick a few of the charismatic, fauna, like mantis and whales, but essentially we're just trying to hit the high notes and give people an idea of what's out there, what's being impacted by it, and what the solutions to me are, getting off of meat. It's a really archaic notion that we need animal protein to be a man, to be a human. It's, we know if you cut out the middleman and go right to the plants, everything, all protein comes from plants. At my organization, Ops, we've been driving electric cars for 7 years now. The license plate on my car says VUS, it stands for vehicle using sun, because we use solar panels. So it's the opposite of an SUV. I'd like to say limit travel, but boy, we do a lot of it. Unfortunately, it's a big part of what we do. So we try to keep really small teams in the field. Everybody wears several hats. We work late, so we don't have big crews. But yeah, getting off of fossil fuels, getting solar panels is like entry level. If you're going to drive a car, get an electric car. They're much more efficient. There's only a few moving parts. The Toyota RAV has been in the shop, never. We only go to a gas station to get windshield wiper fluid and air in the tires. That's it.
Well, cities have a big role to play too when it comes to electrifying vehicle fleets and switching, and also the infrastructure that accompanies electric vehicles. So as we purchase more electric vehicles individually, we need charging stations in public places. And so it's up to us to demand that of our cities. So that's all on our website as well. And then protecting vulnerable species, making sure that we're not buying any wildlife products. I mean, we don't think we are in the US, but we're actually the 2nd largest purchaser of wildlife products behind the other side of the world. And so, thankfully we have these initiatives like the one that we're working on in Washington, and Obama announced a plan for hopefully banning ivory, so which is really great. But making sure that you're not supporting that. There's still states in the U.S. where it's legal to purchase or possess shark fins, And so we're actually going state by state to ban the sale of or possession or trade of shark fins. And we had a recent victory in Texas, which is the first Gulf state, first Republican state to ban shark fins. And we're going to be
Just to add to that, I'd like to talk about how it's important to just change the way that you think, change the way that you eat, change the way that you vote, and that can mean different things to different people. And so if you're an activist already, the Keystone March in front of the White House that you saw in the film, it's incredibly powerful because a lot of those people were already activist people, right? However, it got headlines, and those were people who got off their asses and they got there and they made it unavoidable to cover. Some people in the audience might not be ready to do that, to give away a whole weekend and go to DC to participate in a march, but there's things they can do in their own community. When we did the Empire State Building, we had 50,000 people in about a week sign a petition to support the president's new proposed regulations on banning ivory, and that happened. Those were 50,000 people that these guys captured through the projections on the Empire State Building, and that's meaningful stuff. Those things work. They capture attention. Just in the last week or so, we've been watching what's been happening with the transportation of shark fins and other trophy hunting pieces coming from Africa, the different airline bans and things like that. And we realize our community is really interested in that. They'll tweet it, they'll push it out, they'll invite their friends to do others, and all of a sudden the Racing Extinction community is being really active. The film's not been out yet, and there's already these people are following and active around this, trying to force FedEx to say, you know what, don't be the last person group out there that's transporting shark fins. And so this stuff works, it really does. And the film, like I said, has only been seen by a small fraction of the number of people who are going to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's small. My organization is half dozen people. I mean, we lit up the Empire State Building. We had 1 billion people paying attention to what's going on, and that wasn't even including social media. That was just media impressions. So it doesn't take a big group of people to make a difference. It just takes a lot of people getting together, getting communities together, and making a lot of noise. I mean, together we can really do this. I really, honestly believe that we can change the world, probably just with the people in this room and our networks.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you all so much. That's really awesome to hear us. Thank you all for coming. Any more questions, just stay around. We'll all be here. And yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for all of this. Thank you.